Welcome everyone to another episode, and today we're going to be talking about RaptorDB, and on the show with us today is Will Johnson, who is the VP of Data Platform Engineering here at ServiceNow.
Great to be here. Really excited to talk about Raptor today.
Before we get deep into it, just give me a little bit of your background here at ServiceNow.
So I was part of a startup that was acquired by ServiceNow in 2019 and led a lot of initiatives here. Currently leading the data platform team, which is all of our core data services. So Raptor's a big part of it, but it's also our time series infrastructure, Kubernetes, anything around performance and scale below the application tier is a part of my organization. It's a really interesting space to be in.
Oh, cool. Because, I mean, that's kind of ServiceNow's thing, is working with databases, and you've got this giant, massive pool of information. Now what do you do with it?
Yes, yeah. It's I like to say that everything at ServiceNow eventually funnels through the data platform. So every piece of information that a user interacts with in our system, every workflow, every list, every form, every AI agent, every interaction flows through some part of the data platform, and usually through our core database, being RaptorDB.
So RaptorDB is relatively new, or very new. Yeah. How does that come into ServiceNow?
We ended up buying a company a few years ago called Swarm64, and what they brought to the table was a set of technology around columnar indexing and columnar storage technology for the Postgres ecosystem. They had a lot of other great technology around making Postgres bigger, better, faster as well, but we were really interested in them for their columnar engine. And what that allows us to do is run these big, large-scale analytic queries much, much faster than our traditional transactional database. And so then over the past few years, we've been slowly getting ready to ramp up and roll out RaptorDB to our customers. And we've been on a journey for the last sort of 3 years plus, and now it's really hitting the hockey stick, and it's super exciting.
So what is the basic idea of RaptorDB? How is that different from traditional databases?
There's sort of two main types of databases in the world today. There's what's called OLTP, or online transaction processing engines, and then there's OLAP, or online analytics processing engines. OLTP are your typical, just add, insert, update, read, get type operations, just very standard, data interaction stuff.
Here's the stuff. Go find it. Figure it out.
Exactly. And that's sort of like core ServiceNow workflows. So you want to look at a form on a page. You want to look at just a really simple list. You want to have a workflow go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3. That's all transactional. And our current database actually does a really great job with that. The analytics, however, is much harder to do. And so there's usually specialized engines in the industry to do that. We've integrated some of those in the past. However, it's hard to get them to work together. Anytime you have two different databases trying to sort of hand off between each other, it's a really difficult problem. And that's where HTAP comes in, and that's hybrid transactional analytic processing. It's hard to say.
Okay, good. Because I was going to ask you to explain that, because I keep seeing that a lot, and we all see that we're like, ooh, this is a big one.
Yes. So an HTAP engine is really meant to be the best of both worlds. So it's great at both the transactional workloads and the analytic workloads all inside one database. And that's what Raptor is. So we use a lot of the core transactional processing that Postgres is great at. We use a lot of the columnar engine technology that we acquired from Swarm64 and have sort of really built on top of to be great for ServiceNow. And we have this great HTAP engine as a result, being RaptorDB.
Now, when we were talking about this episode and how to really explain this, I'm relatively new to ServiceNow, and a lot of people who see ServiceNow kind of who are using it, we often use the example of somebody spilled coffee on your laptop. You want to get a new laptop, and ServiceNow takes care of that instantly with all of the great databases and information and analytics and AI agents. But this is, with RaptorDB, this is going much higher and wider. How explain? Can you give us an example of how that works?
Yeah. So we work with, like, the coffee on your laptop is sort of the quintessential ServiceNow use case. And again, we're great at that. Our core database, for the last 10, 15 years of the company has been excellent at executing on that. What we're seeing, though, is larger and larger companies bringing, much more complex data sets to bear. Telco being a great example. So they're not only just managing all the laptops inside their environment, they're managing all of the telco equipment, every cell phone tower, every networking router, switch, every station that manages an entire nation's telecommunications infrastructure is being managed inside ServiceNow. And so when one of those devices gets sort of the equivalent of coffee spilled on it or gets taken out by a hurricane or something like that, we want to understand the impacts across their environment. We want to understand, what's the impact of their customers, what's the impact of their network, how do they route field agents to go service that equipment, quickly and efficiently. It's a much larger scale problem. And so we need the transactional workloads to, get the person in the van going to the right place. But we also need to understand these large analytics. We need to be able to run these large scale analytic queries to understand how big of a blast radius is this? What's the impact? Again, could be an entire region of a country or even an entire country in some cases. And we need to be able to run those analytics in real time, dashboards, alerts, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because that has to be insane if you're, anybody's going to be running a whole bunch of laptops. But like you said, you've got power supplies and routers and cables and then humans. And then, then you start thinking about, field service management and all of the other tools that ServiceNow offers that are literally waiting for somebody to connect the dots, so to speak.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it's not only even for the telco companies that we work with, they're also using other applications on top of ServiceNow, CSM, HR, CRM. Lots and lots of additional ServiceNow workloads that are oftentimes tied into these larger data sets. Sometimes they're separated, and we just want to make sure we can run it all together inside the ServiceNow platform. But a lot of times, you do want to understand how the server that you're working on as a developer is tied into sort of a deployment chain for a large, telco network or a large banking institution or something like that. So being able to see how all the data relates to every other piece, and again, being able to run queries, to run analytics, alerts, have AI agents work across it. That's what RaptorDB enables at massive, massive scale.
Right. I mean, yeah, when you start thinking about it, you'd mentioned, if there's a hurricane, it's like, well, we know a hurricane's coming. We have that information now. Let's run queries, or is it running queries or running analytics that go, okay, start looking here, here, and here.
You can start to do that, but also just a lot of these systems have alerts that they're firing into basically pushing information into ServiceNow. We need to be able to uh, take that data in and then be able to react to it appropriately. Again, at massive scale. So yes, you know roughly where a hurricane's going to hit, but where it actually hits, which data centers get flooded and which ones don't. That's you kind of have to wait and see what happens there. And but being able to process all that information, get the right alerts to the right people at the right time. That's really the key for these organizations.
Well, that makes total sense, and it sounds like there's other problems that we needed to be solved. Because if we've gone to RaptorDB and this is a major change, what were some of those bigger performance or technical issues that are now no longer the issue?
What we saw was customers would have sort of the CMDB as one of our core data models inside ServiceNow. It's all of your configuration information for all of your equipment, but also things like all the tasks that have ever been worked on by your operations team and things like that. As those data sets grew larger and larger, it got harder to be able to perform these large scale analytics to understand which type of your operations teams are better at certain tasks versus other as an example, or which equipment tends to fail faster, due to could be a manufacturing issue, could be they're all in one data center that's running a couple centigrade hotter than the other, any number of different reasons. But being able to sort of slice and dice that data and understand, what's going on with your business, that's what Raptor makes available to you as an administrator.
Yeah, I have to point out, I've been inside one of those giant data centers, and it's fascinating when you see everybody's configuration and just how they're wiring things and doing stuff. It's like you can't take pictures of anything because everything is proprietary and secret sauce into all of this. It's really a fascinating, maze labyrinth of machinery that makes everything run.
But one of the other cool things, and this is true of ServiceNow in general, but we don't ship a fixed data model. We don't ship like one set of queries you can run, one set of tables and schemas you can edit. Our customers, even two telcos, two banks, two healthcare companies, could have completely different ways that they store and manage and access their data. We allow them to customize to their heart's content, which is great. And Raptor and the ServiceNow platform are able to make all of that happen seamlessly and transparently. And what Raptor Pro enables you to do is make it all super, super fast. So that's another sort of cool technological advancement we had, was making sure it worked just like it used to on the old engine, but just bigger, better, faster.
So how did you figure that out? Because oftentimes it's like, we're going to deliver this. There had to be the first one through the door, so to speak. How did it work out when we launched it?
What we normally do at ServiceNow is we drink our own champagne here first. So anytime we roll out like a big technological innovation, it usually goes into some of our own internal instances first. The great thing for customers is that some of our internal instances just happen to be some of the largest and most complex in the ServiceNow ecosystem. So we get a lot of really great experience there, just running it internally first. So systems like Now Support, which all of our customers should be familiar with, have been running on Raptor for quite some time. Our internal employee portal has been running on Raptor, as well as a number of other systems. And so we usually get a lot of great experience there. And then we start rolling it out to select customers. We work with them. We've worked with a number of them sort of through a pilot program, which has been really exciting. So last year we worked with around 10 customers, and household name brand type environments,
You can go to
large.
the website and see the logos.
Yeah, you can see the logos. Like, these aren't, this aren't mom and pop shops. Great ServiceNow customers. They're really putting the platform through its paces on a day-to-day basis. And we come up with a plan of, like, we're going to make copies of your current production instances. We're going to allow you to test it. We're going to provide, do a lot of performance testing on our side to make sure we feel comfortable migrating you to Raptor. And then it all comes down to usually a Friday or Saturday night, 9 p.m., 10 p.m., something like that. We all jump on a bridge internally. Bunch of people, do a whole bunch of work on the keyboard, and eventually get migrated over to Raptor. Early last year, that was taking approximately an hour. Now we're down to about 5 minutes, which is pretty exciting from a customer standpoint. It's kind of like a blip on the radar in terms of a migration.
That makes no sense to me. That's insanity that you're switching an entire company in 5 minutes to a whole new universe. That's insane.
Yeah, it's super cool. One of our customers was just starting to get the notifications on their end that the system was down before it started coming back up again. They were confused about what had happened. We're like, no, 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 like, it's done. You're fine. You're on Raptor. It's all exciting. Let's start testing away. Probably the best part of my job, like, through all of this, has been jumping on the customer calls right after they migrate. A couple customers, again, like, really pushing the envelope in terms of what they're trying to do with the ServiceNow platform. Um, just laughs, giggles, like, shouting with one or two of them, being able to do things with the platform they were never able to do before. Dashboards coming back in seconds that used to take minutes. It's been really cool to see. We get a lot of great quotes and stuff, and that's awesome. But just seeing, customers really excited about using ServiceNow, who, before might have said, like, it's good, but, I wish it were faster. And now they're just blown away with the performance.
Yeah, there is something to be said for in as our technology is constantly changing, going from minutes to seconds is feels like a lifetime. I mean, I don't know if I can wait 5 minutes for anything anymore, but five
Exactly.
seconds, the time to look away and go, why isn't it done? Oh, it's done now. I guess I'll stop complaining and go on with my day now. This
Yeah.
is great.
It really changes what you can do, uh, what you feel like you can accomplish without getting sort of bogged down, or getting distracted, frankly, with something else. If you can add, five more ways to slice and dice a specific report or a specific performance indicator or something like that, that just allows you to have a much more um, interactive experience with your data, with your business, frankly, which is great.
Some great nichifying ideas that you can start thinking about and go, well, let's try it. Oh, we did it. We've got it. So to kind of wrap this up, looking ahead, what's some of the future that you're seeing with RaptorDB?
So future for us, I said Raptors bigger, better, faster, and that's true today. It's always going to be bigger, better, faster is sort of the theme for the roadmap. Um, so today we're looking at customers with hundreds of millions or billions of CIs. We're going to continue to push that. adding more and more zeros to how many things, how many tasks, how many CIs, how many queries we can run on a single instance, how many users we can bring on board. We have customers, starting to use us in much more B2C or, B2E type use cases. That's, tens, hundreds of thousands, or maybe even eventually millions of different users hitting the ServiceNow platform on a single instance. We want to make sure Raptor can scale to support that. A lot more around reliability, availability, as well as different and new types of analytics that we can power because we can answer queries so much faster. We can enable a lot more different types of analytics on top of the platform.
Bigger, better, faster. It's what we always want. Well, thank you so much, Will. It's been a pleasure. I mean, I think that now I understand it finally, which is, part of the thing of so many of us who work at ServiceNow and work with it's like, what's going on behind the scenes? It's like, there it is. That's great.
It's been a ton of fun. I think for a lot of us on the project, this is like a once in a career type opportunity, and we're all really excited to see it getting out into the world and making a difference for our customers.
So there you have it, a quick introduction to RaptorDB. And to learn more about implementing and understanding RaptorDB, head over to www.servicenow.com/docs. I'm your host, Bobby Brill. Thanks for listening.